The first question is, before you came across me, had you done any kind of copywriting study or anything?
Absolutely zero. I didn't even know what the word meant, to be honest, before going into this properly with you. I mean, I did briefly know what it was through research, mainly through YouTube. But up until having that very first session with you, I didn't really know what to expect at all. So this has been a massive learning curve, and I literally mean massive.
Mm. I mean, for somebody like you, who is, because you are academic by nature, you know, you've done 2 full terms in academia,
Yeah.
and obviously, copywriting, the way I teach, especially, is not academic.
No, it's
So
nothing of the sort. No.
nothing of the sort. It's more fast track, really. But I suppose the question I wanted to ask you the first thing I forgot to ask you now is, so what is it you're doing now for a job?
I work in a factory, so I'm stood there with steel toe cap boots on over a bench, building welding equipment.
Mm,
So that is what I'm doing 40 hours a week, and it is quite a physical job.
yeah,
A lot more physical than people might think it is.
yeah, I bet it is. I mean, I know my son's a chef, and he's bending over all the time, and he has a terrible back because of that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So obviously, the whole idea of sitting down at a desk like this and writing appeals to you. So what is it that actually appeals to you with the copywriting?
Well, there's the obvious thing that everybody has the appeal to, and that's the money it can make if you do it right. But the other thing that appeals is the fact that it's so flexible. So you can be sat in a shed in New Zealand
That's true.
and still make a success of this as long as you've got internet connection.
Mm,
You know, you can be in a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea and still be able to do this. So you're not tied down to one place.
no.
You know, it's a very flexible skill that you can take with you anywhere in the world. And you know, with the rise of technology these days, with the way that things are moving, we're getting into that way of life anyway.
Mm,
So it won't surprise me if most people in the world are doing this in another probably 20 years' time.
mm.
Because I mean, technology's taking over everything, isn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah.
they're building our cars. We're even, you know, like Uber are making driverless cars now.
Yeah.
So we're making ourselves redundant from the workforce.
Yeah.
It's
That's
quite
right.
frightening, really.
Yeah. I remember once, just before I was about to fly to Singapore, somebody asked me if I could do a critique and do a partial rewrite on their page. And to be honest, I was very, very busy at the time, extremely busy with copy and other stuff. And I thought, well, I'm going to be on this plane for about 15 hours. So I booked myself a first class seat, which was expensive. But I put the first class seat on the price of the job, and I charged them £10,000. So I said to this client, this is a regular client. I said, okay, I can do it. It's going to cost you 10 grand. I said, but you have to pay for a first class flight as well to Singapore. Actually, I was going to Singapore, then Australia. First class flight to Singapore, and I'll write it on the plane. So instead of sleeping or anything on the plane, I just wrote this guy's copy, and I got about £14,000 for it.
Well, that just proves, doesn't it? You did that several miles up in the air,
That's
so
what I mean. Yeah, yeah. That's
you
what
can
I mean.
literally take it anywhere with you.
You can take it anywhere, and of course, then you don't have to do anything for a month if you don't want to.
Well, no, I suppose it depends on the lifestyle you want, doesn't it, as
That's
well?
right. Yeah. Well, for me, the most important thing for me in life is being happy. Happiness is my absolute priority. So
Yeah,
for me,
absolutely.
you know, so funding a happy lifestyle doesn't necessarily mean you're a multimillionaire. It means you have
No, I
enough
mean,
to
it
pay for everything.
certainly helps.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Anyway, let's take a step. Let's take the next step forward. So, the next step forward was the very sensitive question of how much did it cost you to start Mentor?
Are we talking about the initial one I did, or
Yeah, the initial
altogether?
one, yeah, the initial, because I know you've done some beyond that.
So that was it 12, if I remember right? 12,000.
I can't remember. So if it was, it was.
I think it was. I think it was.
Before prices went up because it's 14 now.
Yeah,
So,
no, I was before that. I think it was 12.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So let me ask you this: for someone who, and I know how much you get paid, you don't say it on the video. How did it feel like handing over £12,000? Let's be real clear. You didn't really know me.
No, I didn't know you at all. No.
You just read the webpage, and you decided.
Well, I saw you on YouTube as well. Do some talks.
Yeah. So you decided to take this journey with me, and I'm grateful for that. But how did it feel handing over that money?
Well, I'm not going to lie, it was absolutely devastating at first because I'd never paid such a big amount of money in my life. So I was taking a massive risk doing that.
Yeah.
But in my head, I was thinking, well, if this is helping me to learn a skill for life, then it's worth it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's like you say, it's thinking of the value you're getting long term.
Yeah. So you've now paid the money, and we start Mentor. Was it anything? I mean, these are questions I've never asked you actually, so it's good for me to know. Was it anything? Was it anything like you expected from the go, or did you not expect anything?
Well, to be honest, I mean, up to doing this, I've never even used Zoom before. I didn't even know what Zoom was. I knew what Skype was.
Yeah.
I remember even asking you, like, well, what do I do? Do I click on the link or what? You know, so I didn't know what to expect. But you know, the first few sessions were a bit strange because you had me writing stories, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah.
And I do remember thinking at the time, well, what's this got to do with copy?
Yeah.
But looking back now, I understand why.
Everybody thinks that at first.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, because I mean, story writing and copywriting are different, aren't they? Even though you do use story writing in your copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking back, I can understand why you have me doing it, because it's all about how you use words to, you know, provoke emotion or to provoke an action off the reader.
Yeah.
Because then what you did over time, you gradually got me to mold the story writing into the copywriting. So you said, like, you know, practice putting subheadings in it. And then another week he said, practice putting a call to action at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
So you kind of, you eased me into it gradually. And then there was that week, if you remember, where I had to go to writing a proper advert.
Yeah.
And you were quite surprised at that because you didn't expect it, did you?
That's right, yeah.
And it turns out I did a good job of it. So I was made up for doing that.
Yeah. Because it's very interesting, the story, you know, you got to remember as well, a lot of the guys who do Mentor don't want to write those stories. They just don't want to do it. But it's such a brilliant process because, first of all, it gets you to pick up one of these things or type, and you have to physically, because I said to you, you said, well, what shall I write about? And I said, well, there's a lot of things going on around you. Observe what's happening and write a story. And you started writing these stories about things that were going on around you. They were really very good, very, very good. So let's just say after 6 weeks, because you're writing after 6 weeks, tell us how it changed.
Well, it changed massively just simply because I'd listened to what you told me and then I did it. You know, and that's the case with anything. If you listen to the expert, you do what they say, your talent will get better, won't it? That's with any skill in life.
That's right. Yeah.
Obviously, if I'd have just ignored what you said and just carried on doing what I was doing, you know, I probably wouldn't have mastered the skill at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a case of listening and doing what you're asked to do. And you know, when I look at the copy I write now compared to what I was writing, say, a year ago,
it's brilliant.
The difference is very, very big.
There's no, you can't compare. But do you remember when I said to you, I showed you original links in Wayback Machine of my Orange Beetle?
Yeah, I remember that.
The very first web page. Oh my God, it's so bad. And even I look at that page and I go, God, wow, I was so busy with that terrible page. So let's jump further ahead then to 12 weeks. So what kind of stage would you say you were at after, I mean, I know, so just what kind of stage do you think you were at after 12 weeks?
Quite a strong one, to be honest, because during that 12 weeks of mentoring, I mean, I was practicing every single night,
Yeah.
writing. And again, as with anything, with any skill, the more you practice, the stronger you get.
Mm.
And I think your
That
brain,
every night is tough, right, to do. It's tough to do it.
well, it definitely is alongside a full-time job, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, had I have been unemployed and had nothing else to do, it would have been a lot easier. But yeah, it's just a case of practice, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
If you don't practice, the weaker you get. The more you practice, the stronger you get.
Mm.
But even I was noticing as an amateur, definitely, that my writing was getting a lot stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I look at your writing now, and Carl's, who's been working kind of alongside, just brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, you could walk into a client's office tomorrow and improve his response rates easily. Now, I know you're yet to get your first client, so let's just jump another step ahead on because obviously you're working full time.
Yes.
And so we decided to do something, take a different approach to getting clients. So do you want to tell us what you're doing? You've only just started it, I know, but so you're not doing Facebook ads, and so most copywriters are told, do Facebook ads, get a LinkedIn account, do this, go on this website, blah blah blah. I don't do that because I don't do that myself, and I get great clients. So what's the very first kind of tactic and strategy that you're using right now? You've started off.
Well, the very first thing I had to do was niche to a particular marketplace, which is what I did. I focused on laser eye clinics. And then I built the website around that, which you helped me with. And now the tactic I'm using is the direct mail approach.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of different strategies that people are told, but the strongest one, as all copywriters know, is to use, simple, plain, direct mail tactics, like the envelope you pick, how you present the information, how you put the stuff inside the envelope. It all makes a big difference.
Yeah, big time.
But I know for a fact, and Gary Halbert, who said this once a long time ago in one of his seminars, that if you get even just one of those things wrong, it can massively change the response rates you get. He had like this A and B pile method, didn't he? That you probably know about. And, if you don't even use the right kind of envelope, they might not even open it. Or say, like, if they've moved address, if you send it to the original address and nobody's even in the building, it doesn't get forwarded.
No.
So straight away, your letter's ended up in the dumpster, and you think that it's got to the person you're sending it to.
Yeah, that's right.
So that there's so many things that could go wrong before your mail even gets opened.
Yeah.
So that there is a lot to think about, really.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and you've done these direct mails, which quite frankly are brilliant. But obviously, early days for you, and we know direct mail, as targeted as it is, takes time, because people have to get used to reading it and seeing the name of your company and seeing the stuff that you're writing and so on. And then you get a reaction. I mean, direct mail is actually, there's two things with massive growth market now for businesses. One is direct mail and two is TV. So businesses are coming offline now, doing direct mail and doing TV. I mean, even some of the biggest internet giants now just do TV. They don't use Facebook ads and all that stuff because nobody's on Facebook to look at somebody's ad. They're on
the problem is with Facebook as well, that there's a lot of regulations on it, isn't there? So if you say so much as one word out of place, they can shut you down. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So I'd rather just avoid that personally. I'd rather use other methods that are proven to work, which direct mail is, isn't it? So and it's a lot more personal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very personal. Yeah. So look, can you see yourself being a full-time copywriter? Can you see this actually happening for you? You know, what's your vision for the future for this then?
Well, ideally, in the future, I'd like to be at the stage you're at, where I've got clients who are flooding in, and practically neither me to write copy for them.
Yeah.
You know, but getting there takes a long time, doesn't it? You
Well,
know, you can learn you can learn the skill really well, but if you're not doing it in the right way, it's not going to get you very far. So it's all about planning ahead, isn't it? All the time. You know, you can write brilliant copy for a marketplace. You can do all the techniques right, but if it's not tuned into what they're thinking, it's not going to work. It's a bit like hiring a painter and decorator. They could do a brilliant job of it, but if they do it in the wrong colour, it's no good. So it's like that kind of philosophy, isn't it? So
it's exactly that. Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this, just for that, because like I say, people going on Mentor will watch this video because my videos for Mentor always get watched a lot. So let me ask you this question. Just tell me what somebody needs. So you're going to write a piece of copy for John Smith, and he's got this company. Tell me, how do you approach that? This is your opportunity to show off your new skills. How do you approach that?
what do you mean? Like, how do I approach him personally, or how do I write the copy?
You've had an email of John Smith, and you agree to do the work, and you're going to do it. So how do you approach that project? You know, what do people need from copy? How do you make copy work?
Well, the very first thing you've got to do is you've got to do a lot of research. You've got to know the marketplace. You've got to know your customers inside out, what they're thinking, what conversations are in their head. You know, you've got to go to places like forums where people are talking. That's how you find out what they're thinking, because they're discussing it amongst themselves. And then, you know, you writing the copy it's not about writing fancy. It's about telling the truth. It's about telling the reader what they're thinking in a creative kind of way, in a way that will provoke emotion. That's what gets people interested, isn't it? That's what makes them excited. So if they're reading it and thinking, no, I'd never do that in a million years, you know, I'd never think something like that, they're just going to throw it in the bin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you've got to connect with what's going on in the head at all times.
Yeah, such a good point. Yeah.
You know, how to lay out your headlines. I mean, the headline, as people will discover, is one of the most important things. It's like the gateway to the garden kind of thing.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You know, like the front door to a house.
Yeah.
You know, as you know, like, you know, if a real estate agent takes you to a house and it looks absolutely disgusting on the outside, but it looks luxurious on the inside, they're probably not going to walk in, because at first glance they'll think, oh my God, that looks disgusting. It's the same with your copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to give off that good impression as soon as you start writing the first word, or they're not going to read it.
I love that analogy, actually. Really good. I'll be using it. So a final question, really. Was it worth, you said at the beginning it was you were terrified of handing over 12 grand, and I don't blame you, I would be. Has it been worth the money so far?
So far, yeah, it has, because I've learned bucket loads of information. Because I mean, I know I've gone down the route of trying to set my own online business up out of this, and you know, whether that'll work or not, I don't know. I can't guarantee that. But I always know that if it doesn't, I could always go to an agency, for example. I could maybe approach another copywriter and say to them, you know, can I write copy for one of your clients? There are other ways of making it work. You don't have to necessarily go down the business route, you know, setting up your own business. But I mean, it's a skill that you get to keep for the rest of your life, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Assuming you practice it.
Yeah, as long as you practice, yeah. I mean, and the best practice you get is when you start working with clients, really.
Yeah, it is.
You have to really kind of sharpen up, you know. So, okay, Michael, well, listen, thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate your words. And
no worries.
I'm sure people will want to know a little bit more about you in the future.
I hope so.
So, listen, Is there anything you want to ask me?
There was that one about branding. Do you remember when I asked you the other day?
You know what, Michael? I mean, I've worked with clients for months doing branding, like months, because it's a big thing, really. It's a very big thing. So the most simplest way I can tell you this. So, for example, right, when we've been out today, so when I came back in, I saw a poster at the side of the bus stop, and the poster was really kind of hazy, fuzzy. It was supposed to be, and it was a silhouette of a figure, and the rest of it was red, but the silhouette was slightly distorted, and it was Batman. So this poster didn't have any words on it at all. It's a big poster at the side of a full bus stop. I thought that's really cool because I know it's Batman. And I also know, because I'm on IMDb, that Robert Pattinson is the new Batman. So I also know it must be coming out soon. So that for me is a perfect piece of branding. So that branding without any words is what we call a meme. So a meme, M-E-M-E, is something that sticks in your head forever. I grew up with Batman as cartoons. So I know what the bat looks like in the sky on the spotlight.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I know what Batman is. And I know the bat figure, the silhouette. So there's no words there. It's just a poster in black and red with a silhouette of Batman. So it's a perfect meme, really, absolutely perfect. So, and another perfect meme is the Apple logo. It's just the apple with a piece bitten out.
Yeah.
That's it. Apple. You know it's the company Apple. But there's no words. There's no words at all.
You see, the reason I ask is because I've forgotten where I read it now. But somebody said somewhere that in this day and age now, that what you've got to do is combine the direct mail with good branding. Apparently, you need both.
You do need both.
But I don't know if so. That's true then.
It's true, yeah. Look, we are in a very, very image-driven society now. So the most important thing you'll see on your phone first here is probably an image. So if you see an image of, I don't know, Joe Rogan, who's around online a lot these days. So if Joe Rogan's podcast pops up, it's that face with the eye in the middle. It's Joe Rogan's head, bald head, but it has an eye in the middle as well. If it pops up, you know it's Joe Rogan if you follow Joe Rogan.
Right.
So everything that comes from Joe Rogan now, you see that brand and you know it's Joe Rogan. So it's brilliantly done. But with direct mail, you have to have right. I'm going to take one step back. Well, maybe 100 steps back or more. Branding comes from slavers or criminals. That's where it comes from. So as a criminal, at one time, you would have a brand stamped on your forehead. That's where it came from. As a slave, you would have a brand on your body somewhere. Like gladiators all had brands on them. So you were branded with a red hot iron. So the brand was the identifier. It was like a label. So this one here would say scum. And this one here would say, property of Rome or whatever. So a brand is an identifying mark. So you have to ask yourself, do I have an identifying mark? Because a brand will give you more power. It'll give you a stronger position. It'll give the client more perception. And it'll give you a position that is very hard to overcome by other copywriters. So for instance, if you look at Orange Beetle is basically the hex color FF3300. That's the actual color I use, the hex code. So the hex code FF3300 is my orange always. So I can run an email just with orange on, and people will probably know it's me who know me.
So does it have to be an image that identifies you, or can it be words as well?
is stronger with an image, which is a meme, like the Apple logo. So if you have an image which you always use, so Facebook have the blue, that blue is very specific blue, and they have the F, which is their image for Facebook, which is very specific font. You have eBay, which has 4 specific colors, and overall 1 specific yellow. So eBay have the words and the colors as their brand. Facebook have the blue and the F as their brand. So it's very, very specific, but an image is easier to be identified quickly than a lot of words.
So the problem I have, though, is I wouldn't have a clue how to set one of those up. I wouldn't know.
Listen, I have a client who paid £100,000 to have a brand made. So they spent 100 grand. So here's what it is, right? By the way, you can spend 50 million on a brand. I mean, you know, just ask Facebook how much they spent on rebranding their blue and their F. It looks identical. But
so, I mean, an individual like me obviously couldn't do that.
No, well, I've never done that. So what you do is you take a position and you think about the marketplace. You say to yourself, how do I stand out that I get remembered? So, for instance, with branding, when I started doing a lot of public speaking, I started to wear my kilts more.
Yes.
Because I quickly realized that I'm going on stage with a lot of guys wearing jeans and t-shirts or black suits. So if I was speaking to 1,000 people, how are they going to remember who I am? Easy, wear a kilt and use the orange on everything. So for years and years and years, people say, oh yeah, I remember you. You're the guy that wore the kilt in London XL. Or yeah, I remember you. I remember you parking your orange Beetle outside. So you have to have something that's easily identifiable very quickly and clearly just yours. So you would go to a company like, you know, you can go to someone like Logo Nerds. So Logo Nerds is a website, and you could say to them, my company's called Laser Eye Marketing. I want something that's very, very easily identifiable, which maybe has an eye in there, or maybe has a symbol from laser eye surgery or whatever. They give you something to fill out. So for instance, I created a brand ages ago for, because I was really going to the gym a lot at one time, for men over 50 working out. So I took a picture of Zeus with very long white beard and very long white hair and very, very muscular old guy.
Yes.
And he just stood like this with his muscles all ramped and pumped.
I've seen that, yeah.
right. So that's what it was. So they created that for me. They did that for me, and it cost me about $100. Very, very cheap.
So just to confirm for me then, if I want one of those, I basically got to pay somebody else to do it for me, haven't I?
Yeah, don't do it yourself. I mean, I do my own stuff, but I am creative by nature.
Yeah,
so I don't think you could do it. So
I couldn't.
Yeah, you just go to a company. You either spend £1 million.
I haven't got it.
or you spend $99 at Logo Nerds.
Are they the only company that do that?
No,
or are there many more?
There's loads to it. That's just the one I would use. I've used over the years. So you just really need to go to them, and they will ask you the questions. Say, fill out the questions, and they'll also say, is there any logos that you like? I mean, I have books like, I don't know if a lot of our books are still in boxes, I'm afraid. So
I've been reading that book you recommended, by the way, about Robert Cialdini.
Oh yeah, great book. Yeah, great book.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
So this book here is called Logo Life. So I've had this book for years. It's a brilliant book, Michael, really good. So it goes through the history of logos. Like, for instance, did you know Samsung started their business as selling dry fish?
Nope, didn't have a clue.
Right. So it gives you the history of logos, and it gives you the development of their logo as well. So it's a very interesting book, and it's a very interesting book for ideas on doing logos for yourself.
So have you kind of got to have an idea of what you want before you approach somebody like them?
It helps, definitely
Right.
helps. Yeah. Otherwise, they may come back to you with something that you have no idea. You know, you may hate it. I mean, this is a kind of other books I read. I read about a whole brand and see how they did it. So obviously, this is about Starbucks. It's a Starbucks story, right? Basically,
Right.
that's the kind of stuff I would read in business. And to be honest, we've got loads of books like that. They're still in boxes. We've got tons of boxes over here. No,
Yeah.
everything's packed. I mean, I've got a huge book there, that big, all about fonts, designing fonts, and why some fonts are amazing and some fonts are no good, like this. If it is this one.
Can I just ask you very quickly before I forget?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you heard of a guy called David L? I think it's Deutsch or something like that.
Yeah, I know David. Yeah, I know him quite well.
You've heard? All right, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been watching him recently.
Yeah, he's great. Proper old school.
I thought, well, I'll ask you about him because he sounds legit. So
yeah, he's a proper old school copywriter. Yeah,
seems to know his stuff really well. So
he knows his stuff. He's the real deal. I mean,
Right.
he's a guy that's done copy for big agencies for years.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Right, okay.
About there, that's just about fonts. Like a massive book just all about fonts. Same here. So that one's called Designing News. How do newspapers design themselves?
Oh,
And you realize that they design themselves to be read. So with a brand, you just got to remember it has to be easily identifiable.
and images are always recommended.
Yeah, and somebody says, right, that, you know, somebody say, oh, that's Alan. So that's what a brand is all about. Has to stick in the brain, you know, and you have to have something that really is part of you. You know, what is your thing? So it takes a little bit of thinking about, but at the end of the day, you know, it's just keep it simple. And once you do it, if you think it's working well, don't change it. I mean, on my Orange Beetle website, that Orange Beetle, I've been using that same logo since 2002, maybe 2002 probably had it made.
I mean, it's probably better to have one that's not stuck to one particular marketplace, just in case you branch out to other niches, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, I mean, it depends what kind of copywriter you are. If you're a niche copywriter, you are narrowing your market down a little bit. But if you are a copywriter that'll take in most types of clients, you're making your marketplace bigger. But if you become a specialist in the niche, you can become much more highly paid. Like, yeah, as you know, I've written for hundreds of industries actually, but you know, as you know, I have my one special niche, which is the hair salon industry.
Yes.
You know, and I've been very, very well paid from that industry, very well paid. So, you know, it can work all different ways, really. You've just got to find your way, and that can take time. I mean, when I began Orange Beetle, it was all over the place.
Well, it's like you said to Carl on that video, like sometimes it might just not be the right marketplace, mightn't it?
That's right. You know, sometimes we can chase a marketplace that if we can't get established in it quick. I mean, I'm a businessman, I need to make money.
Yeah.
So if I'm not making money from something I'm doing relatively quickly, and I would say call that maybe 3 months, I will move on. I'm either doing something wrong or that marketplace is not for me. But I will analyze it and think, what am I doing wrong here? There's something not right. What is it? And I realize, you know, okay, these guys have all got in-house copywriters or whatever it is. I'm not going to be able to break through on this marketplace.
Well, that reminds me of what you said, because a lot of these clinics up and down the country, they all seem to be very big chains.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem very often that you see smaller ones.
And a chain will generally have an agency or an in-house marketing, a little tribe in-house that does all their stuff.
So obviously they're not really going to listen to somebody like me, are they? If they've already got that in place.
It can be tough to break into if you're going into that level. Like a lot of new copywriters always want to go working for people like BMW and Mercedes and all this stuff. Well, you can send them as many direct mails as you want. The chances of getting in there are almost zero, because they will only use an agency and they're happy to pay £100 million to the agency, but they wouldn't be willing to pay us £2,000. So, you've got to, for me, Michael, the best way to get busy as a copywriter now is to stay local. One thing this COVID thing has taught me is that it's a good time to stay as local as you possibly can. I mean, you can still work local and be working in the Philippines.
Yes.
But working local makes it easier. So, for instance, working local doesn't mean you have to live local. What it actually means is you target, just say, a town like Walkden. So you become the man in the know for marketing, copywriting, consulting in Walkden.
For this marketplace, so it's impossible to do that.
No,
if I'm just targeting the smaller places, they're scattered around.
Yeah, of course, yeah, but I'm just generalizing. If you've got you may in Walkden, you may have 500 businesses. I have no idea.
All right.
And every one of those businesses needs a copywriter. If you're in business, if you're selling toilet paper or pens or cups or headphones, you need a copywriter, because somebody has to write those ads. Whether you're selling ads, through direct mail, through Facebook ads, through anything, somebody has to write it. So there's a lot of business locally that most copywriters don't get because they're trying to branch out too big. And this COVID experience has taught me that there's a fortune line locally that we can easily overlook. Easily.